Welcome to another episode in the Quantum Human Summit series. Today we are with Jean Ang, who works with the Arcturians, bringing forward healing frequencies. And this is all about manifesting the divine plan. This is an introduction to a three-part series of transmissions that will completely activate us into our divine light, our divine love, and our divine power. Let's welcome Jean Ang. Thank you, Jean, for being here.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, everyone. Yeah, really excited about this series that we have here. And just to note, it's actually falling. I don't think we planned it, but on the full moon of Taurus, which in particular, a lot of people celebrate as the most powerful full moon of the year. And we can also discuss how the spiritual energy from the source or the God coming through the spiritual hierarchy and divine beings to initiates such as ourselves land onto the planet and get distributed every full moon in particular, and then especially on the full moon of Taurus.
Yes, this is a powerful time as we come through the eclipse window and the Easter resurrection energies and all the way through the Wesak, the beautiful month of May as well. So as we get started, and we're going to learn more about this transmission series and how we can manifest with these powers. First, I'd like you to share the definition of a quantum human. What does that mean to you as we're on a path to become quantum? What does that mean?
Yeah, for me, the idea of the quantum human is sort of our next evolutionary path, sort of as we move forward. And I think we have this beautiful time in incarnation, particularly now, to work on it. That was probably set up by many incarnations to kind of land here in this kind of special time that we can accelerate our development. And I would say that the main quality of the quantum human, to my experience, is this multidimensional reality that's true to us. You know, we can think back to maybe a lifetime where, existing physically was our main focus. For example, we had to forage or get a lot of our food, physical food, just to survive. So we were very much in the physical world. Now we can just, walk down to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and we have more food than we can feed our family and probably many families with. So that's not so much our focus. So that's why I'm referring to this sort of unique time, a lot of it which we've already taken for granted since we were a child. But upon reflection, we have this time to actually see the reality of these multidimensional aspects, a lot of them non-physical, and actually work on those aspects of ourself that are non-physical. So, for example, many people here might do something like distance energy healing. This was actually a skill, an art that was very much kept held in secret, let's say 500 years ago. But now, if you take an initial healing class, or let's say one of our mastery empowerment courses, you can learn right away how to do distance healing, which takes into account sort of our astral body, not just as an intellectual understanding, but as a direct reality. So many people here are working at this multidimensional level, not just as a concept, but as a direct reality. I would say what that would be one of the main characteristics, this multidimensional reality for the quantum human.
Yes, that's perfect because it is called, our subtitle is Expanding Multidimensional Awareness. And so that's what you have been working on your entire path is this multidimensional awareness that we can live outside of this current reality. We can do that distant healing, as you say. We can connect with the invisible realm, which is very real. And so that's what you do with your work with the Arcturians. It's really quite amazing. I just want to say that, here you are, you were a PhD in biology. Was it molecular biology? And you broke those bounds of your familial egregore to really stand on this path and go towards your own multidimensional awareness, the expansion of that. So kudos to you for doing that. And for assisting all of us because it's very exciting as we do this. So as the Arcturians are here to assist us, that's always a fascinating story of how you met and began to work with the Arcturians.
Yeah, yeah, I think, that's great. I didn't know consciously that the subtitle was a multidimensional reality, but maybe I just use that as an example of this quantum human self and then moving into the exact question you asked. But we are all telepathic, which we've been talking about in some of the recent mastery empowerment courses. And of course, that's something inherent, natural. We may do that subconsciously. We also are starting as a multidimensional quantum human to work with that consciously. And in a sense, like when we tune into something, we already receive the download. For example, maybe just tuning into the idea of the quantum human, that kind of information sparked something inside me. Of course, that was real for me, this multidimensional piece. And so, in a sense, we're always part of these different information fields because our consciousness isn't just localized into our physical body, but is quantum. It's in the entire field, which I think is a big part also of the quantum framework, is fields of energy and information that go beyond just our physical vehicle. But yes, I was part of a neurobiology and kind of working in that realm, and that informed a lot of the information that I think I needed to embody in this life. And then, yes, stepping out that many people have who might have been maybe in the corporate world or in a very traditional role. Maybe that was our responsibilities or our karmic sort of links or responsibilities to do. And then now I think as the planet itself accelerates, we were able to all step into a different role, maybe one that we had chosen that's part of this quantum shift or evolution. And I particularly was working with, like you mentioned, the Arcturians. And just to kind of put that into context, I think more of us are now not only embodying those invisible realms, but realizing that they're populated with higher evolutionary consciousness, maybe beings who had gone through this process in another cycle, who are now, as part of their karmic responsibility or purpose, helping us move forward. And so, as we kind of move ourselves into this invisible realm, we're also making those connection to those invisible beings or realities, who I might call like the higher beings. And I think the Arcturians fall into that category, who are helping to evolve the planet.
And so it's always really fascinating. Were you in meditation? Did you know that the higher beings that you were working with were the Arcturians, or did that come in hindsight after the fact?
Yeah, it was really a combination of both. I had read a book by Joshua David Stone, sort of very prolific ascension writer, when he was alive, maybe over 50 ascension books that maybe some people had read. Right before I started my graduate works, that was in like 1999. And then for about, I would say like 8 years or so, that information remained sort of dormant as I was working more in this sort of molecular, like you mentioned, field. And then when I started to reactivate, learning healing, I then was like in sort of my kitchen of all kind of mundane experiences that are profound. And I heard like my intuitive voice say that you're Arcturian. And, I had been starting to do a lot of healing work, but I didn't even remember consciously where I heard that term. And then I went back and kind of traced it to Joshua David Stone. If you do a quick search on the internet, was Arcturian. He was very much Arcturian, and like wrote a lot of Arcturian healing ideas. But when I read that book, because it wasn't in my framework, it just sort of, the portion just went over my head. It kind of went. It was like a unconscious transmission that was waiting dormant to be activated. So that was kind of a little bit of the short story on that.
Mhm. So it's fascinating that you were in the kitchen. I'm reminded of JayZ Knight. She too was in her kitchen when she began to channel Ramtha. And so what were you doing? Were you washing dishes? Were you cooking food? Were you in like that quasi meditative state doing something?
No, I think I was probably cooking, getting something to eat. And yeah, so I wasn't like in some formal meditation. But then afterwards, like I kind of even kept that sort of now it was conscious. I kind of kept it sort of in the back of my mind. Continued to learn different healing techniques, and then soon after was learning, drawn to certain healing modalities that were also kind of star being based or cosmic based, like the reconnection by Eric Pearl, which he mentions is Palladian based. And then finally started to work with Stephen Greer, who kind of teaches you how to make contact. And these really were kind of necessary downloads to really unpack the Arcturian connection.
All right, thank you for sharing that. It's really fascinating, and this is what it's a beautiful example of what we're all moving towards. Again, our connection to our higher self, that is multidimensional right there. And then our awareness of these higher beings, which are really aspects of ourselves, when we go into that quantum realm of all of it. So it really is helpful and inspiring to hear how you again had to walk away from a PhD in neurobiology, and that was not, we've talked about this before, it can't be so easy, but and to go off into such a woo-woo thing, but what you're doing is play such a significant role, as we've seen the people in the classes and the transmissions that gather together online. People's lives are changed for the better. And this deeper connection to our higher self, the world becomes a better place with this. And so I hope that you are like me as an eternal optimist for the future because of the work that we're doing to anchor more light and energies on the planet. Would you say that you are an eternal optimist?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's my orientation, to be very optimistic in all situations. That all situations are in our lives are working towards kind of our best interest.
Yes. And those who have worked with you, like we work with you in the Mastery Empowerment courses, know that you are very well read, very well studied, with a lot of Tibetan and a Buddhist background as well. So it's really well rounded, the spiritual teachings that you bring forward. So thank you. All right. So here we are. We are going to be talking about the Manifesting the Divine Plan. This is the next series of 3 transmissions that we're doing. And this, again, you mentioned it's happening during a very powerful energetics of the next full moon. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, a lot of this information, I know we have a resonance with a certain Master Dijwakul, Master DK. If people know about this particular, he was a Tibetan master at the time. He may or may not be in that incarnation, but a lot of people connect to him as Master DK or Dijwakul. And Alice Bailey of Lucis Trust wrote maybe more than 30 books of sort of inspired or channeled information from this Tibetan master who she was in telepathic communication. But they put on the map for many esoteric groups since maybe the 30s this celebration of 3 particular full moons. One that you mentioned about Easter is the Aries full moon. Then there's the Taurus full moon, which is usually in May, but now it's falling in April. And then finally the Gemini full moon. And every full moon is a time that you can actually connect more closely to your soul, to the hierarchy, who's this interconnected, interpenetrated group of souls and beings and masters who are helping to evolve the planet. But these 3 particular full moons kind of have a sequence to them because they're considered the most powerful 3 full moons. So the Aries full moon is really a time, the theme is purification. So you sort of bring in that energy, but the masters as well as your soul is purifying your subtle bodies, really so that during the most powerful full moon, which is the full moon of Taurus, which will be when we have our Mastery Empowerment course here on Manifesting the Divine Plan, you can kind of absorb as much of that spiritual energy in order to serve or distribute it. And then finally, the full moon of Gemini, which will now be in May, is a chance to distribute or to serve, kind of to let that energy move out of your aura, out of your subtle bodies, and onto the planet to other people, helping other people, other beings, really, on all the spiritual planes, as well as animals, plants, so forth. So we're kind of in this phase, and we're in the most powerful one during the course. So that's why this theme about discussing how we can really make that connection and distribution of the energies.
Yes, and it feels so good and powerful. So we're looking forward to this. So the three transmissions that we're going to be doing, we're going to talk about that briefly, but I want to give an overview of this because, again, this is all about connecting to our higher soul's energy. So the full moons then, they're they're amplifying the light of the sun, right? But they're doing it through the feminine portal of the moon. And how, so those three, we purify, then we receive the light, and then we direct the light back to the planet. This is all part of our divine plan as well. It will help us become more aware of our divine plan. And so let's talk about the three transmissions that we've got. There's the divine light, the divine love, and the divine power.
Mhm. Yeah, this sort of pattern of purification, then download, then kind of distribution can be also done at every full moon. Like you can do it a little bit on a macroscopic level here with the three full moons, Aries, Taurus, and then Gemini in that sequence. And then also on any particular full moon, you can do this on your own, and we're kind of embedded it in the Mastery Empowerment course, where the sort of the actual time of the full moon, if you can be in meditation, what you want to think of yourself, ourselves as, is as a spiritual transmitter or transducer. So the actual full moon, you're getting the full download into your system, kind of being fully energized. But you sort of want to have that pipe or that pot or that kind of receptive vessel as cleared and big as possible. So you can use the 2 days before the actual day of the full moon as a purification period. That would be on any full moon. So in a sense, our first transmission that day falls on kind of a purification day. And then our second day of the transmission or the course, which is the second transmission, is actually on the Wesak full moon. It's not right exact time, but it's very close to it. The exact time is around, I think, let's say 4:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. People maybe can adjust that to their time zone. And then the next day would be, you can use 2 days after the full moon as a distribution period. So that will be actually our third transmission. So we kind of have that microscopic pattern, or that pattern in the three transmissions. And then the actual theme of each of those transmissions is sort of us as like, what is that? If we are spiritual transducers, what kind of makes up that transducer? So that's the phrase divine light, divine love, and divine power. So just to kind of break that down a little bit, the divine light is a bit more like divine intelligence, like when you have a light bulb above your head, like in cartoons, or you get lit up by someone saying something. You're kind of understanding something. So you sort of like the intellectual aspect of the divine. And a lot of us think of that as the head center. You could actually locate it energetically if you use your energy anatomy, like the divine intelligence or divine light is sort of in the center of your head, as a development. So we're sort of developing that as part of the transducer. So if you were to distribute, let's say, spiritual energy that you receive in meditation, let's say you have a course or you're like a speaker, or giving interviews, for example, then your ability to kind of understand what's going on, to like speak to someone, and people can understand that and maybe save time just by one idea, then that would be your divine intelligence. So that's part of your transducer. And then the next one is that would be our first transmission too on day one. Then day two is divine love. So I think a lot of us understand that, like, if we were to kind of receive divine energy and then distribute it, like in a talk, like we give a talk or are working with someone, when you can really feel they're coming from a place of compassion, they really understand you, they really want to help you, regardless of what they're saying. You can feel that behind a speaker. That's really coming from their heart center, their divine love aspect. course, they don't even need to say anything, just their actions when it's coming from a loving intent. You can feel that. So that's kind of that part of your transducer, spiritual emanation center. So that would be more focused here at your energetically for the energy anatomy at your heart center. And so that's stage two's transmission is to build that, to develop that more fully, to receive the energy of the Wesak full moon fully into that center. And then finally, the divine power is really our action. So like, how can we act in the world? So, we may be meditating, we may receive the spiritual light. Like I said, we could do distance healing. We could think about people we'd like to send that energy to. Maybe we bless them. But then actually acting in the world, maybe you go out and you hold a class or you hold a meditation physically, or you go out and help people. Maybe you give money to people like charities that are feeding people. So you actually are physicalizing that action. It kind of that's your belly center, all these lower chakras, that are chakras that we usually think of as both prosperity, but also like living in the world. So they actually move us, get us to walk and move things with our hands. So that's divine power. So manifesting something into the physical. So that's the third portion of our transducer. And that will be our third transmission.
It's so wonderful too to come together and receive these transmissions because on a group level, it's definitely amplified. We've learned that from experience. And when you were chatting there about this divine energy and how we're the spiritual transducers of it, this is, again, I want to say that word empowering, because so many light workers in the past couple of years, we've really seen this pattern of some are hesitant. At first, we were hesitant to step forward, maybe because of past lifetimes where we were taken out for bringing this forward on the planet. It was not so readily expressed as it can be and is being expressed now. And yet then some did not know that we moved to a phase where we didn't really know how to express ourselves or what our role was in this. Many of us were saying, well, who am I to lead a class in meditation? I just love talking everything metaphysical and spiritual, but who am I to do that? And so what you're sharing in these divine energy transmissions and this, what you were just describing, really highlights the importance of the need for each of us to share the wisdom, no matter what it is. And then it brings to mind those who are gazers, that simply, they don't say a word. They just simply emanate through their eyes and their physical presence this profound feeling of love that is palpable by those who witness it in an audience, for example. So I think it's really, again, I'll just say that word empowering, because we can receive the energy, anchor it, but then distribute it. Again, you're assisting us to step up in many, many roles. So would there be intentions that we can set when we receive these downloads, these energetic downloads, to be guided from our higher selves on how we can take those steps in the world, no matter what? I'm thinking we're going to get some clarity on that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like you're saying, this multiplication, like one person kind of downloading or meditating is kind of like maybe we call that 1x on some relative scale. And then if seven people get together, it's not really 7x. Actually, maybe it's more like 100x. So there's sort of a exponential increase in the energy. And we're really receiving that inspiration from those non-physical realms. You can think of those higher beings are trying to bring force and energy, and they need receptacles, people who are open consciously. Even if we're not conscious of it, we may work at a soul level. But to bring all our subtle bodies into alignment, particularly the ones that are here in the physical plane, it's good to start moving to that conscious level. And then if people are sort of at, like you said, we are at different cusps of moving to the next understanding or level, people might already be conscious, like, how might I bring this forward? Maybe some people are starting centers, or they're wondering, should I start a physical center or not? Or, just as an example, you can bring those intentions and they can kind of just be from the beginning. be empowered, or maybe at a specific transmission you kind of, based on the description I gave, that kind of fits particularly where you're working. So there's very conscious energizing of your manifestation, your plans during this time. Actually, every full moon, you can have written in front of you your goals, and it's a good idea, and we'll do this as part of the transmissions, to kind of at the end of the transmission portion or meditation, you kind of bless or energize those goals with all that spiritual light that you and the group has manifested into your intentions. Because basically, intentions manifest. The speed of the manifestation is how energized that thought form is.
Okay, wow, awesome. Well, you were talking about aligning the subtle bodies. And I know that there's frequencies when we get into the Arcturian bridge that helps to cleanse and purify these bodies. What do you do, or what can you advise us as a regular practice to align those subtle bodies? And what does that mean, aligning the subtle bodies? Does that mean coming into our central column of light and moving from that place? What does that mean?
Mhm. Yeah, some practical things people can do. People probably have heard of this, but particularly around the full moon, it's good to take a salt bath every night or whenever you want. And if you can't do the bath, do a salt shower where you just kind of let yourself be rinsed first, turn it off the water, then put salt all over your body, and then wait for about a minute or two, and then rinse it off. And what salt does is it clears the etheric body, so it actually allows for more spiritual energy to come through your system. So, like when people might get sleepy during a transmission, or they feel kind of sort of aches and pains during a transmission, it's because the energy is, think of like a big downpour coming down, particularly from above, and it's going through your pipes. And then if the pipes are slightly need to be cleared, you kind of feel that little friction. So, particularly around the full moon, and because this will be a very powerful one, you could even do it like 2 days before, like one day before we actually start, because that's already starting that period. And then throughout the, let's say, transmissions, this is kind of very down to earth, like etheric level suggestion. But now to what you're saying, and if you did the salt bath, you just kind of put 2 cans of salt into the bath. It doesn't have to be expensive salt, but I would suggest sodium chloride, not Epsom salt in this case, which is calcium chloride. I suggest sodium chloride. Can be like very cheap version. You can put 10 drops of lavender oil, and then nice and warm so it's comfortable, up to your neck for about up to 10 minutes. So this is a kind of down to earth, very practical, etheric level suggestion on the alignment. But when I mentioned about the alignment, what's interesting is some people have noted that before they ever heard about the Wesak celebration, which we can talk more about either here or during the course, is supposedly a time when the Buddha's energy comes very close to the planet. And with the assistance of the Christ being, the solar logos, brings down like a tremendous pulse of spiritual energy actually for the entire year. And then through it sort of distributes like this transducer to spiritual masters and initiates, including yourself. Anyone on the spiritual path would kind of be defined as that. And then they distribute it into the world. Now, let's say you're not conscious of this. You would participate like astrally, like your soul would just be drawn there, but your conscious mind, like this, let's say I didn't know about this, the Jinang here who's talking wouldn't have any memory or recollection of that necessarily. Now, the more you get aligned, even if you're not aligning to meditating with this Jinang body here, I might start thinking, like, I had this dream on, on the Wesak day that I was like in some valley or something, or you might kind of recall these snippets that your soul is participating in this meditation. But to align the personality means your soul's going to do that anyways. But to align your personality means this conscious mind and then these vehicles of the personality, meaning physical, etheric, emotional, mental, are kind of all in alignment with your soul. Like the soul's doing it, I'm aware of it, I'm actually sitting down for meditating, and then bringing it all the way through. And then, of course, you can then more consciously use that spiritual energy for service on those distribution days. and also energizing your plans. So that's kind of what I was mainly referring to as the alignment.
I love that. All right. Well, it is a very powerful time then. And for us to really focus in on what it is we want to step into as a role. And do we have to know that, or will we be inspired by it? I mean, it seems like just to be that vessel, that open vessel to receive the energy. I mean, it could translate into an act of kindness, a smile. It could just be, I feel like crying. We are like a flower that would be blossoming then, right? Just the love that we're radiating is like the beauty that we're bringing to the planet. So there may not be too much to do with this in terms of an intellectual action plan because we're just a transmitter, a transducer of these energies. So any thoughts on that? There's no heavy lifting to do, is there?
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to know necessarily, and part of maybe also receiving those transmissions or energies is that you will become conscious of what, like you said, inspired to do whatever's next. And then, particularly during these transmissions, we'll also bless the energy out, and there you can kind of put different, first the planet, different places on the planet that need that energy. It's almost like doing a distance healing because we've absorbed so much energy, and then you could bless your family, your friends. So we're actually right there doing service and being the conduits of light as we bless that out of our hands into those different areas that we can consciously choose or think about.
Beautiful. Well, there's a lot of efforts that we can put out together as a group, especially areas on the planet. We all know those areas. And so this is very helpful. And together as a group, we'll be doing that. So that's really special, I think. So all right. So let's do a mini transmission here, Jean, so we can tap into the energy. And I know it's pretty much silent what you do. And but yet if we really are focused, calm and aware, we can feel it, we can sense it. So let's do a little mini transmission.
Yeah, in this transmission, we're kind of co-creating with the spiritual hierarchy, who are these masters, higher beings, initiates. A lot of them are not physical, in the physical plane. They're kind of working behind the scenes or spiritually. So we're going to invoke and then bring that so you can feel what that connection is like. Let that energy come into you now, inspiring whatever work you are now, and then just know that it's like a bigger portal or opening occurs during these full moons that we'll be working with these beings. Okay. Yeah. So if you had any particular projects, you can think of them as being partly what you'll be energizing for service. And we'll do a short invocation, just kind of acknowledging or calling in those higher beings. We just invoke the God, divine source, divine father, divine mother, all the higher spiritual beings, who I'm referring to as the hierarchy, the spiritual guides and initiates that we follow, maybe we know consciously or even subconsciously, the archangels, the angels, our holy guardian angel, and our higher self. We thank you for your great, great blessings and for this download and transmission, assisting us now and also in preparation for this powerful full moon of Taurus, the Wesak full moon. You can just be silent, just be aware. You may feel a downflow of energy, particularly above your head, down your pillar, coming into your physical body, into your energy field. You can just let that energy flow down your pillar of light. You can even feel it flow into your hands. Maybe your hands are starting to tingle. Even let that energy just radiate out of your hands. It will find the appropriate location to bless or be with. Feel it coming down your torso and down your legs, down your feet, and your feet may be tingling. And just send that energy down into the ground, 30 feet into the ground. And we'll actually are blessing the earth with this divine light. Just spend a few minutes here in the flow of that divine energy. And we're now that transducer, that channel, that important connection from the inner world. We're the quantum biocomputer receiving the download and injecting or allowing the divine energies to be distributed into our physical environment, into the planet. Like what Lauren had mentioned, we don't have to do anything. The heavy lifting is done by the higher beings. Just need to be open and receptive, being the channel of light, like what St. Francis said. Let me be a channel of your peace. And as we become the channel, that huge downflow of energy, it clears us as a side effect. It energizes us as a side effect. So we benefit as a side effect of this huge downflow of energy. You can think of all of us who are listening to this either presently, in the future. We are creating that one big exponential pillar, which is actually the heart chakra of the planet. All our activated crown chakras of humanity make up the heart chakra of the planet. And if you like now, we'll practice what we're going to be doing, the distribution through the blessing. You can put your hands in a blessing position, sort of palms facing up. And first, just imagine the earth in front of them, like a small ball. And you're sending gold light that's coming down from your pillar, from the hierarchy, and blessing the earth. If you know specific areas on the earth that need that light and that inspiration, that one shift that can create a huge cascade of positive events, and let the light flow down to those areas. Now, thinking of your town, your city, your family, your house, your apartment, or wherever you might be living, that gold light is blessing the entire environment and all the beings supported by where you live. Shower it with gold light. It's flowing down your pillar. And then finally, thinking of that project or projects that you're working on, you're showering it with the gold light. It's energizing. And that's part of the divine plan, is what you feel is your contribution, your inspiration, your creativity. And the divine light is empowering that now. Just see the gold light out of your hands, energizing your goals and intentions. Wonderful. And you can let your hands rest in your lap now, face up. And we'll just end this transmission and blessing with a short thanksgiving. We thank the divine supreme God, divine Father, divine Mother, to all the hierarchy, the holy masters, initiates that we connect with, our guides and teachers, both in the inner and outer world, the archangels, the holy angels, our holy guardian angel, and our higher soul, our higher self. We thank you for the great, great blessings. When you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and snap your fingers.
Talk about multidimensional awareness. That was beautiful. And I love how feeling we get better at this the more that we do it, the more that we tune in to the frequencies, to the energy, we can feel it so much better. So that was so beautiful. Just the whole, it just shifted and changed the whole beginning from beginning to end. And then the radiation of the love and the light, that was extremely powerful. I loved how it went from the macro down into more of our families, our communities, our projects. And I just, again, feel the immense power that we have with this. So thank you for that. We are a very powerful group. This is our next phase as humans. And so congratulations to everyone doing this work because it's so powerful. Thank you. In the beginning, before we even started to do the distant radiation of the energy, we were in our hearts. I felt the word I came up with was full, like
Mm,
full,
mm,
full. So
mm,
that is really interesting, I'd have to say. Thank
mm,
you for this. Again, it's just so wonderful to witness how we receive the energy and how we can play a role, an active role in distributing this on the planet. And when we do, when we sense into it, there's no problem in the present. That's what I had a deep awareness of. There's no problems. There's no
mm,
problems. So
mhm.
that's really feels very good. Feels very
Ah,
good.
yeah, thanks. Thanks for that insight.
Yeah. All right. We hope that you watching have enjoyed this transmission, and we invite you to join us for these 3 sessions coming up. You can scroll down on this webpage and learn all about it. It really is wonderful to journey in this realm and to experience this. Anything you'd like to share, Jean, on anything more on these transmissions and inviting people in?
Oh yeah, I like how you mentioned that you felt the fullness, just early on or in the middle of the transmission. When we're those transducers, we receive so much energy, and when you get that feeling, you just naturally will want to distribute it because you're like you have so much, and then you kind of want to send it out, and this is just a formal way to send it out, and then you can receive more when you kind of release it, kind of like a bag of water. You let it kind of water the plants and then more rain, like it can hold more rain, divine rain.
That's why we feel so good. And that's why we are literally flying high after these transmissions. What we did here in just a few minutes, we go into at least an hour in the transmissions. And then the sharing in the group is really powerful as well. And I just want to share the feeling that I felt from the group energy in this is one that was full of total respect for every form of life on this planet. I felt that. I felt that whatever wars are going on, We know what those are all about. There comes I felt a need to respect every form of human life. All life is to be respected. Human life, all life. And I think what we did in this transmission was really emanate a powerful love beam to all those who may not be feeling heard or seen or respected. And so that to me is very powerful. And it just goes to show us how this work is why all of us came to the planet in our own transducer ways to radiate this light. We raised our hands very high to incarnate at this time. So again, empowered and inspired and full. Thank you, Jean.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, everyone.
We hope to see you in this series. Everything is recorded if you can't make it live, and we send you our blessings. Thank you for this incredible work. Thank you, Jean, as well, and all the master beings, the higher beings that were present with us. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.